had a frustrating day yesterday, and I was almost like, to hell with making videos and trying to make podcasts, and mostly because technology befuddles me, and even though I hit as many buttons as I can and make things work, when things don't upload properly and you lose everything, it just sucks immensely. But I had some really nice comments on ye old Facebook page and encouraging me to get back on the electronic saddle, so to speak. And so here I am. Once again, it's Tuesday, and I in the videos on my website that you're probably on now, and then YouTube, and also have a I don't have COVID. I know I don't have COVID. I have a tickle in my throat. In a previous video, I did like these big attached wings to a vase piece, and so this is, I guess, a bit of a sister piece in that it's generally the same whoop, 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 whoop shape. But I wanted to, and it's funny, sometimes you gotta take a picture of things to see, like, you kind of like size things up again. So I'm looking at the camera and I'm looking at the piece going, But so this is a bit of a sister piece, but I wanted to talk today about what you can add to your pieces to give them character or more character, or, you know, if you're super minimalist and you just skip this video altogether. I was trying to find like the Qing Dynasty. I'm pretty sure it was Qing Dynasty. That's my favorite dynasty. For what reason? Well, because when I was in grad school, I made a body of work called "Just Because I Love You." Just because I love you doesn't mean I like you, and it had to do with a lot of growing up stuff. So I really don't, you know, what would I buy as far as ceramics goes? It's like super all over the place and random. So it's not like I actually would, I mean, I would love to own anything from Staffordshire, from Qing Dynasty, the Famille Noire pieces, you name it. A read to wear, like I mentioned before, willow pattern. Maybe I could afford that. But where was I going to go with that? I was attracted to the notion of these really glorious forms covered in all sorts of design stuff and busyness. And I thought, is that, you know, part of it is like the flowers and such that were used on the pieces sometimes has had symbolism, so to speak, and that was interesting to me. So I thought, you know, instead of using magnolias or bats or whatever, I would use my contemporary equivalent of pine cones, or who knows, you know, like what was relevant to my contemporary life, and then kind of put it on these pseudo Qing Dynasty pieces that I was exploring then. So in some ways, I'm a little bit repulsed by these like over-the-top wares, but I'm also super attracted to them because I love them, I don't like them, I like them, I don't love them. But actually, you know, that was decades ago, and so now a decade and a half ago, and so now I really love them, and so they're in my repertoire. But when I made this piece, when you first saw it, it was just like the basic shape. And like I was mentioning, and you all know, oftentimes pots are kind of relatable to the body, or spoken or written about that. So they have a foot, and they have a belly, and they have a neck, and they have na. And I'm all about like the accessorizing of the piece, not only with the surface decoration and design, but like adding strange finials or protrusions, and people go like, what are those for? And I'm looking around to see if I have a pot that oh yeah, I do. You know, like, what are those for? And sometimes they are for something, and sometimes they're just completely decorative. This is I'm playing around with the light because it's hard to see things, but like this is a tiger bowl that I have for someone on the go, and it's got these nubs here, so they're just like blobs stuck on the side, and I poke them with the end of a whatever tool, a paintbrush or whatever. And so in some ways, I guess they act as a little bit of a grip when you're picking them up, but then when you're handling the piece, it's almost just like they're just like another tactile thing to hold on to. And they kind of visually interrupt the surface, which I dig as well. So it's really bizarre, and I'm not certain that this will come into play with the surface design of this piece, but for some reason I saw like a couple of pigeons get creamed, like not like in like live creamed. That hasn't happened for a while, but like the remnants of pigeons, and I always feel bad for them. I actually really love pigeons. For some bizarre reason, I call them the noble bird, and I've made a few pieces about them. But I digress a little bit. So maybe that'll be the theme that's on here. Everything's kind of, again, like even with my turkeys, they go way out of focus with glazing, and then they come way back into focus, and things start to happen. I kind of wanted to make at least a couple of homages to New York, and I want to say kind of growing up in New York, but not actually growing up in New York, but I've been going to New York since I was 18 and spent a couple of years there living and working, of course. So anyways, back to my strand book. Maybe you can see some of these pieces here, and they've got all sorts of strange platforms that they're sitting on. They've got exaggerated handles, knobs. Oh, I think I wanted to go this way. I found, you know, like these oops, there's something going on outside. They've got these like kooky handles here, which I've tried to replicate in some pieces before. But are they functional or are they decorative? Are you picking up these pieces all the time? Not necessarily so. So you can do whatever you want. I was looking for a picture of, in particular, of a certain type of vase that have almost like these scroll-like things on the side, and they tend to be little nubs, and I think they're on the Famille Noire, that kind of family of Chinese ceramics, and they usually tend to be very, very small. So when in doubt, just in Mariko's world, just make them bigger. What's going to go on them? I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. What I was noticing looking in the camera here is that one is slightly lower and one is slightly higher. This probably will make somebody who's OCD a little bit, which aren't we all a little bit OCD, crazy. But I like it when things are off kilter, when things aren't, you know, thus hand building these quasi-traditional forms. You get the make of the marker still in there, and then but then like they're reminiscent of something super fancy, which is kind of like me, which is kind of why all my clothes are just covered in stripes, and I can't be bothered. I'm gonna spend that energy on something else. Anyway, again, using this mid porcelain cone 5 clay with some grog in it, apparently, and it's pretty tough. And I just took a peek in the kiln that my turkeys went into yesterday. I did a whole glazing number. You might have seen it. And I was like, I actually was a little bit nervous. I was like, well, who knows? Who knows? It's still at about 250 Fahrenheit. So I don't want to take them out because I don't want them to crack. But what I did was I applied the glaze, and I wanted to put clear glaze on top. So it's got white glaze, and then it's got all this glaze all over it. And then I wanted to center on the black because it's the Spectrum black underglaze, and it's not a critique whatsoever. It's just a true underglaze as opposed to the Wonder Glaze or the Amico Stroke and Coat, so which is like self-glazing. So I wanted to like center, like just get it, the black to fuse on before I put clear glaze on. But lo and behold, my fake Maiolica experiment worked out so magically. Like I don't have to put any clear glaze on there. I'm going to haul them out because some of the detail pulled away slightly from the form, and so I'm going to go back in and put a little extra black and such in there to fill in the blanks, so to speak. So I'm super excited about that. So what's nice is that as a single person doing everything for themselves, you get to be kind of manic, right? So my days are broken down into chunks of dogs and ceramics and glazing and firing and shipping and packing and all those good things. But it's kind of nice when, like, I thought I would have to come down and, you know, start fussing around with the glaze thing in that way. And as it turns out, I'm probably not going to actually I'm probably not actually going to take out the piece today because it's too warm, right? I have learned over the years so many times that I'm looking for my scraper thing. Excuse me, but and that may not actually happen today, but oh well. Or maybe it fell in the bottom. Nope, it's kicking around here somewhere. Is there another one? Nope. Also, okay, that's all right. We'll fake it till we make it. Anyway, so this gives me some time because I'm not able to actually do the glazing that I wanted to do. At least, I mean, I might scoot down here like 5 p.m. and whoops, and take a boo. Oh, there it is. But what I've done here with these guys is really, I have taken crunched up newspaper. This is pretty basic for most of you, but like I just took a wad of crunched up newspaper and I just rolled a slab around it, and the ends were a little bit longer than the paper, so I just squished them together to get these two flat ends, and then I scratched and attached them onto the sides here, and I always seem to add a little bit of a coil, and I won't add another coil in there, but you know, you can add that rounded surface to the flat surface, and it will stick, but it also has a tendency when things are drying out. And Halifax is strange; it can be quite humid, especially like in the summertime, and then randomly like super dry. So we're like in for a sort of a dry spell. Although it's so beautiful outside right now. I got to get outside and get the dogs out, but it's supposed to snow for most of the day and the evening soon. Anyway, so as extra backup, especially when it's super dry and I want things to dry out maybe a little bit slower, is that I put a coil of clay there, and I just use my finger and mash it into the side, right? And really take time to smooth that in. Now, if I want to go back in there, and I'm going to move this plastic bag because it's going to make me nuts and just rustle the whole time. So if I want to go back in there and make a line of some sort, like really want to define it, I could either take a wooden tool, and again, I'm not like a big tool. I am a big tool, but I'm not really a big tool person. So I could go back in and draw that with a wooden tool. Again, I kind of hate the pen tool. I know some people can use it expertly and with grace, but I find it to be nails on the chalkboard, that the type of line that I have only been able to effect out of it. But more so, what I like are my shitty fingernails. And I was, with my anxiety, it was funny. I was standing in the shower the other day, and I literally like just chewed all my fingernails off because I was going to be throwing anyways. So you don't need them, right? And I can't even remember the last time I was dragged to a spa. It didn't work. But I did save one longer thumbnail, and they don't have to be that long. But it's like my favorite tool, of course, are my hands. So if you can see that, let me see if you can. I might have to bring you even a little bit closer here. But what I do is, can you see that? Can you see that? There's the line. I'll do it again. I'll do it again on this side so you can check out what's going on. But I literally just take my thumb, and I might refine this. I might go in there with my Kemper tools, and I might carve it back so there's a little bit more of a shadow that's cast or created there. But that, like, I map out a lot of stuff with my wee thumbs or fingers. Oh, let's do this one too, and hopefully that shows up a little bit there. Hopefully you can see that a little bit there. Oh, there's the shadow. There's the line right there. So I'm going to come back over here, and I'm going to do this too. I'm not certain what these doodads are going to be. The blue and white piece that I finished and posted had a theme of a Ming dragon with bopping around the vase with technology, or old school technology of tapes and tape recorders on there. And I have a feeling that this might have a little bit of a music influence too. So I'm thinking that these might be dials of some sort. So nothing fancy, just a ball of clay and wad it up, you know, compress a little bit, and I flatten it on the edge. And again, I don't get too picky when I'm adding stuff like this at this point. I'll go back in there with my thumb, or I'll go back in there with the carving tools and make, you know, kind of doll things up and make them a little bit sharper. Also, you can hopefully see adding them on with a little bit of just scratch and attachedness, and the serrated rib is dipped in water, so it's just creating its own slip unto itself. Again, no judgment if you have a bucket of slip that you like to keep by, but I like to just kick it up, Johnny on the spot. Because I work so slow, I don't, you know, like I don't move through a lot of clay. I don't work on a lot of pieces at one time. Like this will probably take me, like, if I'm toggling back and forth between pieces, maybe like a month to make or so. And not that it will torture you with a video for every step, but it's kind of nice to get online and talk about what's going on. So helps me get through things too, especially during these pandemic times. So I've got this here, and so it's some kind of dial. It's some kind of knob that's going to go on here, and likewise, and likewise, and likewise. So I'll add one more on up here. Actually, I'll just make sure, because yesterday my friend Judy called from the West Coast. She's not a ceramic artist. She's an amazing hairstylist. I have a whole bunch of amazing hairstylists in my life. So she's like my sister from another mister. So I had to drop everything and go chit-chat with her for a while. Online therapy, so to speak. So again, another ball, squash, right? And a little flattening on the sides, and then we'll add it up here so maybe you can see it a little bit more. The other thing that I should mention that I do is that I pay pretty close attention to how things are drying out. Except for I didn't cover the bottom of this so well. Usually I have a piece of plastic that it sits on and then whoop, wraps around the whole thing. Usually just those clear garbage bags. I don't need anything fancy. I think I mentioned like dry cleaning plastic is like, I don't like to use plastic that's too dinty, you know what I mean? It's too stiff, because then like the more that you work on your piece, if you wrap it up in plastic that's stiff, it makes little dents in your piece. So that's unattractive. No need for that. No need for that. But what I do while I'm working on the pieces, I stuff a little bit of plastic in top here, so that kind of manages what's going on as far as drying time from the internal inside to the outside. Slows things down. Sometimes when I'm working on really complicated pieces, I'll enshroud. It's like a scene out of Dexter. I'll enshroud it in plastic and I'll like open it up a little bit like a little window and work on things. But it just depends. It just depends if I find if it's drying out too fast. I'm not a person who puts paper towel and towels over their stuff. Again, I think that the humidity levels here in Halifax are moderate. You know, I think it would be problematic. I mean, every place is different. New Orleans is different, right? Super humid, and Hawaii, I'm sure, is super humid, although I would not complain about going to any of those places. The other thing that I wanted to talk about, which is always, I for some reason really love teaching first-year students, because they don't know anything. You can just read them the riot act. You can create a shitstorm of ceramic truths, half-truths in their head, and sometimes they fall for it. Although, I wonder in this day and age of doing workshops, I mean, we're going to get busted because there's so many workshops out there. So they can learn as whatever they want, whenever they want. And they're like, Miss So-and-so, I saw a YouTube video and so-and-so does this differently. But what I like to think about in terms of divvying up the space is if you look at historical ceramic pieces like, say, Greek geometric pots, is that they've oftentimes got a line and a line and a line, and there's all sorts of stuff going on there, and a line in the bottom. And this is what my former ceramic students thought was so funny, is like, well, then I used to call it like, it's like a song, right? So depending on how you read a pot, like you go into the Met in New York, or you go into the Cleveland Museum of Art, or wherever you're going, you see a pot and you like take it in. So maybe it's got like a, like a medallion or something like that here, and that's what you're drawn to first. And maybe it's got like something like that here, and that's what you see first. But at the same time, I mean, I've never really thought about this in some kind of scientific way, but who knows how your brain really reads pots. You know, it's, does it start from the bottom and work its way up? Does it start from the top and work its way around? Do you kind of circle the thing? Do you take note of these things first? I mean, your brain's always trying to figure out how everything works and why everything is in its place. Of course, I like to sort of fuck with that because, again, like the Jim Melchert perfume bottle piece that I mentioned in an early video, what you see is not necessarily what you get. What you think is like 3 inches tall could be 3 feet tall. And there's nothing that delights me more than subverting a whole experience. Anyway, what I was going to say about the Greek pots, it's like if you think of this as like the first verse of a song, say you were reading it up to down, top to bottom, then there would be a line, and maybe I'll just draw a line in here. I can always undo it. Coffee first. Coffee first. So I'm just going to draw a line in here, and you probably actually can't see it because that ring light's a little bit much, but it's basically the same kind of weight of line as here, and actually you really can't see that. So I'm going to draw it in with my wooden tool here. And again, you can buy these tools from any of your local ceramic-y places, right, or order online. And then if you've got even a Dremel tool, I oftentimes take the tools and I actually just like you know, and you know, over time they get worn down, so I have to sharpen them up a little bit. Or you can like tailor the character of them. So you know, this almost in a way kind of mimics my thumbnail as far as like it's got the perfect thickness. It's like my perfect 3B pencil too. So I'm gonna just take the plunge and divvy this up here. So I think of this as like a song. So this is your first verse. This is your second verse. This is like the main event. This is what happens, la 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 la. And say I've got a couple more curves in it, you can like revisit things in almost like different bands. Like say I'll put a band here, and this will be like the chorus that you come back to that gets repeated, right? I'm trying to think of a song that has a really, like Come On Eileen or something like that, you know? I won't sing it for you. But say it's like some kind of Justin Bieber song. Early Justin Bieber. One of the Justins, Justin Timberlake. One of those guys. Or gals. Britney Spears. And Taylor Swift. So this is like the, oh baby, 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 you're really cute. Oh, I'm interested in you. We're leading to a buildup of things. We're going on a date to the mall. We're going to have another like line of chorus here. Going to return to some belts, some decoration. And then I always, like, I haven't done anything yet, but because I make my bottoms a little bit thicker, I'll probably draw a line here, because us ceramic artists are so freaking annoying. You go to a dinner party and you want to like pick up the pieces and look at the bottoms and everything. So I always find it to be like a womp 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 moment when you get to the bottom and it's not considered at all. Again, ceramics, like one could consider this like a this side and a that side, but of course it's like a completely three-dimensional object. The other thing that I consider too is what happens when your eye slides up and over into the piece. So I'll take the time to put a line in there as well. So my whoop, you know, so your eye doesn't just like disappear. Now on the blue and white piece, I was thinking about that the other day, and that's like one of the only pieces that I've never put some sort of delineating line or like stop sign line. But yeah, that tends to be my go-to. Likewise with these knob pieces, I'll go in, and I have a feeling that this is going to have some aspect of carving to it. And I'll use those Kemper tools, but they need to be, in my mind, like a very, very specific texture for for carving, and I call it the cheddar cheese texture. So you know the crappiest of cheddar cheeses that you buy at the store, not the good stuff that kind of crumbles and it's got like the salty crunchy, like the amazing English cheeses, but like the crappy stuff you buy and you put on your nachos here and there. Although I like using good cheese on nachos. So it's a little bit too soft for carving quite yet, but it's good for mapping out of things. I might later today, if I'm feeling like it. I mean, I know that there's these Kemper tools. I tend to bust through them really fast. I've yet to try the Diamond Core tools, and I hear nothing but great things. Awesome, awesome, awesome. But these have always done me well, and I bought like just a ton of them. So you know, eventually I'll try out another tool. But this is just a little triangle tool, and so I clean things up. I'll clean things up a little bit later if they get a little bit dry. Down here, because I didn't carve this properly, it's probably prime carving time. So again, I head for that cheddar cheese texture, temperature before I launch into that. These weird scroll-like things, sometimes I'm like, what are you thinking? What's gonna go on there? And it will literally hit me like a bolt of lightning. I'll be in the shower. I'll be on the workout bike. I'll be walking the dogs. I'll be grocery shopping and be like, oh, that's what's got to go on them. So I never really panic too much about like what's going to happen to them. Yet to be determined. I don't know if I want to have like a big panel. I might put some kind of panel here, like just a oval, circle, cameo type thing, where there'll be a scene of something going on there. Just depends, like if I'm thinking about the pigeon thing, or who knows. Again, that's going to come to me probably while I'm walking the dog at some point. Sometimes I have a piece worked out in my mind right from the beginning and I follow through right to the end. It's very, very, very rare. Sometimes I kind of start from the middle. You know, it's like, oh, I kind of want this type of glazing to be going on, or this kind of underglazing, or I want to have a lot of decal work on there, and so I shift backwards and forwards. Sometimes if I really don't know what's going to happen, one of my drawing teachers, Gordon Trick from Vancouver Community College, hi Gordon, I know you're not going to watch this, so I can just talk about you. He was talking about how he had a drawing instructor when he was in school, and Gordon was sitting in front of like a drawing easel, and it had this beautiful piece of paper on it, and he just didn't know how to start, right? He just didn't know what line to make. So the drawing instructor came by and threw a cup of coffee on the paper. He's like, there, now you can start. And he made apparently this fantastic drawing. So sometimes when I don't really know what I'm doing, I'll just put something on there, and then it's like, well, that's what I got to work with. And I think it's only fair to say that it's certainly not that you have to go get a master's degree or anything like that, but I think by virtue of having an instructor like Kirk Mangus, who really does go with the flow a lot of times and works with bumps and lumps and turns them into really, really beautiful objects, I think it's just like decades of figuring it out. Like, I know my limitations, and of course you make pieces that should not survive and should be destroyed, should be fully destroyed. And I'm not afraid to do that every once in a while. It's not often, and oftentimes I'll keep things around for posterity, or like if they're so bad, they just look at me like on the shelf like, what were you thinking? I'm like, I don't know what I was thinking. But every once in a while I'll pull those suckers down after a couple of years and be like, oh, it just needs this glaze, or it just needs these decals, and I'll pop it on and away we go. So these side things there, I uncovered this a little bit this morning while I was oohing and eyeing over the turkey chicken things in the ceramic oven, and so it's kind of up to the drying point now too. Again, there's right now they're sealed off, with the newspaper inside. So again, do not forget to put an air hole in there. If you're making animals, you just put the air hole, in their bums, because that's where the air comes in and goes out for them sometimes. For these guys, I'll just tuck up, the only use for a pin tool I can actually imagine, or one of the only ones, but I'll actually boop, pop it underneath. And to be honest, like if I find it only needs a tiny, tiny air release hole, but like, I wanted to make a butt joke there, but I'm not going to do that. I will just add a little extra glaze after it's been bisqued, and you won't even see it. And you know, I'm so about all the flaws in the piece. And again, like if pieces have slight striations and cracks in it, I just go with it. I just turn that into part of the surface decoration and design. So basically, what I'm going to do today is map out some of the spaces here. And again, because I'm left-handed, which is the best kind of handed to be, right? It's a little bit awkward for me to video from this angle, but I'm still working on my technology there. At the bottom here, again, this is quite stiff now, so I can really, yes, you can't see. I can really dig in here and get in there. And I will definitely be carving out a nicer line. And once I get that on the go, I'll talk about that with you, you know, when more of the piece firms up a little bit. But I have a couple extra doodads to add here, and then I gotta go check on the kiln, and then I gotta walk the dogs. And so thanks for sticking with me and these little videos. I hope they kind of help. And of course, if you ever have any questions, feel free to write me, you know, through Instagram at Forest Studios if you like. I also have like a contact form through the website, the Forest Studios website. And yeah, feel free to share the videos too. Okay, I hope you have a great Tuesday. Tuesday it is today. That's what we're gonna call it.